All right, welcome to Student Union Study Hall, Episode 2. I'm Liam Smith, here with Austin Brown, Luke Big Take Myers. Another good week of college basketball in the books and a lot of cool shit to talk about, so let's get right into it. First topic today, Tom Crean over at Indiana. Not having the best season. This is a team that has, failed to live up to some expectations, and, there are talks of getting rid of this guy. Austin, what do you think about it?
I think it's absolutely ridiculous that they're talking about firing Tom Crean. And I think the more ridiculous part is that Indiana fans don't understand the fact that they haven't been an elite program in 20 years. They act like the Indiana job opening up is like Duke, Kansas, or Kentucky opening up.
Yep.
I saw an article the other day that said they should go get Billy Donovan, and I about fell out of my chair laughing. You think Billy Donovan, who left a better program than Indiana 2 years ago, is going to walk away from $6 million a year in Oklahoma City to coach Russell Westbrook to go to Indiana? And I've heard him, I've heard Jay Wright, and I've heard Brad Stevens, the coach of the Celtics, which is just three ridiculous.
I don't
understand it. I mean, Crean was Big Ten Coach of the Year and won the conference title last year. Their whole team's been hurt. OG Anano's been out almost all of conference play. I don't know. I just don't know who they could hire that would be a substantial improvement from Crean. I feel like Indiana, if they fire him and just make this a turnstile, they're going to turn it into the Nebraska of college basketball. I don't get it.
Very true. Big Takes, what are you thinking?
I think it'd be just freaking dumb for them to get rid of Tom Crean. He's been there 9 seasons. He only has 421 seasons, but he could have 5 this year. They made the tournament 4 times, 2-time Big Ten champions, regular season title. I don't know. I think he's a really good coach, and he's got one of the best faces of all time to make fun of, especially when something happens on the floor. I'll never forget his face after they beat Kentucky back in 2011 with Davis. He just looked so freaking dirty on his face. He knew what was up.
It's so red.
But the only thing, I guess the only reason I could think that Indiana fans would want Crean out of there, aside from him being a minor douchebag, is that he's related to Jim Harbaugh, who is a very big douchebag. So, well, not related. He's married to the daughter of Jim Harbaugh or whatever. That's the only reason I could think they'd want him out of Indiana. I mean, if Iowa didn't have Fran McCaffrey and they were still stuck in the dark years of the Todd Licklider era, I would certainly want Tom Crean to coach my team.
Tom Crean also kisses his son on the mouth.
Weird side fact, but it's noted. You heard it here. I tend to agree with you guys. I think Crean is better than, what they'll get if they dish him out and see what they can find. I think, names like Brad Stevens are kind of ridiculous. Billy Donovan, that's an attention grabber, but I think, like Austin said, that's a lot of money, and I don't think Indiana's going to be able to pull that out in the end of the day. So I think, where they were before Tom Crean was there was a lot worse than where they are now. So I think you got to stick with Crean.
I can't think of one logical reason why any of those 3 coaches would leave where they're at now. Villanova.
My favorite.
You go, Austin.
Yeah.
You got it.
No, you go ahead. Make your point.
I was going to say, Villanova coming off a championship with Jay Wright, who's just had nothing but success there. Billy Donovan, just his second year in OKC in the NBA. Why would you want to step back down unless you were...
The one part of this fire Tom Crean argument I don't get, and how they're going to go get another coach, is every argument I've heard is, we need to fire him, and then we just need to throw a bunch of money at Jay Wright or Brad Stevens. Those guys don't get paid a bunch of money to do what they're already doing. It's not like Indiana's the only school that can pay someone money. I don't know. If they pay Billy Donovan more than what he's getting paid in Oklahoma City, he would be the highest paid coach in college basketball. And I'm pretty sure Mike Krzyzewski has some clause in his contract that he has to be the highest paid. So that wouldn't go so well.
All right, let's move on. Next topic, Dan Dakich, Tom Izzo. Dan Dakich, apparently his son goes to Michigan, but he was tweeting out. Oh, he plays for Michigan.
Does he play? Is he on the team?
He's a bench warmer.
Okay, yeah, no way. He's on there.
He's on the team because he's Dan Dakich's son.
Exactly.
Which shouldn't have much pull, but...
But he was tweeting some trash talk out at MSU fans before the game, saying they're a whiny fan base and that if they were smarter, they'd be at Michigan, which kind of funny. But the same time, you don't
Kinda
expect
true.
that coming out of someone at ESPN. So, big takes. What do you got?
I've been saving this up for a couple of years now because if you can remember, Dan Dakich laid into Iowa pretty good, and my gentle baby Adam Woodbury, the 7-footer who would do no harm to anybody, accused him of poking eyes at the Wisconsin game and poking Kaminsky in the eyes a few times. That's just bullshit. Dakich is a big douchebag. I don't listen to anything he says. He just, with this, he passed Skip Bayless on the list and Colin Cowherd as people who I just don't want to listen to their opinion at all. And another thing about him, he has a Michigan bias with him. As you mentioned, his son plays for Michigan. I don't know why he gets to call every single Michigan game that's on ESPN. It's just not right. It's not fair to the other team. I already mentioned Iowa and Woodbury, but Fran McCaffrey lit into him a couple years ago as well with that. I just don't like him at all. And I'm very confident this is a take right here. He hates every school in the Big Ten outside of Michigan.
I can believe that. Austin,
Yeah.
thoughts?
First of all, I do agree that he does hate I mean, it's kind of like anytime Kirk Herbstreit talks about anybody besides Ohio State, he just talks negatively. But my issue with Dakich is, first of all, Dan Dakich lives in 1984. If at least 3 times broadcast, he'll talk about the, I think it was a Sweet 16 game where his Indiana team beat UNC, and he guarded Michael Jordan for 20 points on him. And, like, that was his crowning jewel of his life. And then just, like, he talks about that all the time. I don't know. I think that taking shots at another school, especially from ESPN, who's normally, like, the most wet blanket, like, basic, not going to step on anybody's toes, for him to do that, I don't know. I thought it was kind of funny, but also not in great taste if you're going to call 10 games to be doing that. So, and I agree with Luke on this one. I think Dan Dakich is a douche, and I don't really think anybody listens to him. He's been irrelevant for a while. He also got really upset when the Colts fired was it Ursay? And so that's just another reason for me not to like him.
Yeah, I tend to think, I mean, I guess I'm going to take a little bit of a different take on this than y'all. I don't mind it so much. I think, he talks shit. Granted, it's someone from ESPN, so it's a little weird, but, he talks shit to the fan base, the Izzo zone or the student section or whatever it's called out there. The Izzo zone, whatever. They chanted back at him, and they gave him some shit, and that's college sports. I think it should be over with that. And I hate to see Izzo basically crying over a tweet, but it obviously shows that he really cares about his fans, and that really hurt him. So good to see he's a good guy. But you guys got anything else on that, or should we move on?
I'm good.
Alrighty.
Nah.
Alrighty. Next topic. NIT rule changes. They're adding an experimental set of rules to the NIT this year. Not that anyone would notice, but some of the main rule changes include 4 10-minute segments over the course of 2 halves. Each team is limited to 4 personal fouls over the course of that of those segments, and then the shot clock also reduced to 20 seconds. Do you guys think this will have an effect on the game at all? And are you excited to see this, or what, Austin?
Well, the shot clock rule is just like after a foul or something, the clock then reset back up to 30. It just goes up to 20, but it's still, I think, still a 30-second shot clock.
Okay. So after the foul.
But anyways, I just love how the NCAA every year tries to convince people that the NIT matters, even though it's clearly, unless you're a school, like if you're some like America East team who's in it, like this is the biggest moment in your school's basketball history, maybe you care, but every other team is just like a Power 5 team that's pissed off they didn't make the tournament. They don't care. And they just want to be there. I mean, LSU chose not to go to they chose to just end their season rather than go to the NIT. And so at least the NCAA now is acknowledging the fact that the NIT doesn't matter, basically saying, look, we're just going to use you as lab rats to try new stuff. Like, we're clearly, like, if they treated this like, oh, this is someone playing for a championship, like, they would never get to the Final Four and be like, oh, we're going to switch up a bunch of rules now. So, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the quarters thing just because there's definitely going to be some moments where it's like there's a foul at 9:59 and they have to review it to see exactly when the foul was called. And There's one thing college basketball needs. It's more stoppages and more reviews because it's everybody's favorite part. But I don't know. I don't really mind it. I wasn't planning on watching the NIT. Probably still won't. So,
big takes.
There's one rule I do like. I do like breaking it down into 10 minutes when the fouls reset, because a lot of times you get these games where there's both teams are in the bonus by the 10-minute mark, and it just takes forever to keep it going, especially in the first half. I'd like to see that. I like that rule a lot, but I don't like how they do it in the NIT tournament, because you mentioned it, Austin. This is like the NCAA tournament to a lot of mid-major schools who will never make it to an NCAA tournament or don't make it there that often. A couple years ago when Iowa made it and they were just coming off a miserable streak of years, I was cheering for them to win that NIT, so I can see why schools would appreciate it, and I feel like it's just ruining the tournament a little, but I can see why they do it here, because when else are you going to do it? But I don't know.
Like Austin said, they are kind of just being, the NIT tournament teams are kind of just being used as lab rats here to see what works and what doesn't work. And that is sad, to take away from their tournament experience, their NIT tournament experience. But I don't think, obviously, the full set of rules will not be adopted, but I think it'd be interesting to see if, maybe the 20 seconds after the foul or something like that could, you'd see if something like that would work, and it's potentially something we could see in future seasons. So I'm glad to see them, experimenting with the rules in some way to try to better the game. I guess moving on, we have our favorite recurring segment, Is Duke Back? Which I know Austin thinks Duke is back, so let's hear from you.
I told you last week Duke was back.
Exactly.
They're on an 8-game winning streak right now. They just went into Virginia tonight and won a convincing game by 10 points. They haven't lost since Coach K came back. They're firing on all cylinders. This team's dangerous. I don't want to play them in March. I think that all of the talent that they have is finally coming together. Grayson Allen seems to have checked his ego. Luke Kennard has realized he's the best player. Tatum's playing great. Jefferson's finally back. I don't know. This team right now, I think, is playing like one of the best teams in the country, like we all wanted them to at the beginning of the year.
Yep. Luke, your thoughts?
As much as I want to say Duke is just horrible at basketball, they're not playing.
Back. Say it.
They're not back. I'm not saying they're back, because I still have 100% confidence. They might They might run through the ACC tournament, win the ACC title game. They're going to lose in the first or second round. They're not going to get a top 2 seed in the tournament. I think they'll be a 3 seed, and 3 seeds lose all the time. So, for me to say they're back, they'd have to win out the regular season. That included a very nice win over Florida State and at North Carolina, which is Duke doesn't judge
a lot.
Duke doesn't judge by a regular season record. They want championships, and if we're going off of that, I don't think they're back. I still think Grayson Allen is has one more trip left in him this year, and that would lead to a pretty lengthy suspension. Luke Kennard's a really good player. Tatum's playing decent, but yeah, two-game suspension, indefinite this time. But no, I don't think they're back. I think they're close. I'm not going to say they're back though.
Like I said last week, I judge as Duke back based on how much people hate Duke. And as long as people like Luke are still upset and saying they're not back, I think they're hated. And, with big wins over UNC, obviously, that's grounds for Duke being back. Huge win over Clemson, who, if you've read any of my stuff, I absolutely despise. Big win tonight. And Grayson Allen is now upsetting people is actually by making plays instead of tripping people and stuff. So I like to see that out of him. But yeah, for me, Duke is back. So 2 weeks in, me and Austin both think Duke has been back both weeks. Luke's still a hater. So
I still think they'll lose in the first 2 rounds.
He's got big expectations.
I'm not worried.
Exactly. I guess we'll move into our final segment, which is our locks. Last week, we all gave our picks. I know I covered. Austin, did you cover?
No, I accidentally bet on. Forgot I bet on Mark Gottfried. So
that'll happen.
He's going to get fired, so.
And big takes.
The Hawkeyes let me down. Lost it. I was pissed that not only did they lose the game, it went to double OT and they got outscored like 10-0 in overtime, and I lost. Yeah, so
overtime
got me right in the ass.
Exactly. I guess I'll lead off with my pick for this week, for tomorrow, actually. I'm taking my own school, College of Charleston, in a big Colonial Athletic Association matchup against Hofstra up in New York. So I'm sure none of y'all will watch that game, but take College of Charleston -2. They're really undervalued in this game, with that 2-point spread, considering if you compare their conference record to Hofstra. So take that money. If you can find the game on TV, great. If not, sit back and just know that you'll probably win.
Yeah, my grandma went to Hofstra, so I'm going to go the other way. I don't know anything else. But
there it is. Well, we'll put some money on that. Which one of you guys wants to go with your next pick?
I want Austin to go on this one because I got something to
say.
Okay, so I'm going to go with the one consistent thing in college basketball gambling this year, which is Gonzaga.
Yep.
Won a bunch of money this weekend betting on them. I mean, they cover every game, so I don't care how many points they're laying. I got them tomorrow night, -22.5 against San Francisco. San Francisco hasn't been relevant since Bill Russell played there. I mean, Gonzaga blew them out earlier in the year. I'm not worried at all. I think Gonzaga is so much better than anybody else in their conference. It's not even fair. So give me Gonzaga. Give me all the points. I don't care. 22.5. Lock it in.
You heard it here.
I was looking at the spreads and I saw that and I'm like, San Francisco's sitting at 18-9. I kind of like that. They're playing at Gonzaga. That's what turned me away from it. I was this close away from taking San Francisco in the upset right there with the points. Just for argument's sake, just to piss off Austin a little bit. But my pick's going to go with Wisconsin -1.5 at the Fighting Dan Dakich's University of Michigan. I love Bronson Koenig. Ethan Happ's a walking double-double. I mean, Nigel Hayes, a senior there that people seem to forget about a lot. He's been there for almost as long as Tyler Hansborough now. I mean, that's a long time. But I'll take Wisconsin -1.5 at Michigan in that one.
Solid picks. There you have them. Like I said, you probably want to fade these two guys. I, on the other hand, want to know. So stick with me. We'll see where I go from here. And that should about wrap it up today. We'll be back next week to recap another exciting week of college basketball, hopefully. Thanks, guys. I'll see you.